What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Hawaii Players Pod. I'm Olivia Austin, and we've got Kat Koch today from the University of Hawaii cheerleading team. Hi.
Hello.
I'm so excited to finally have a cheerleader on the show because as a former cheerleader, I live and die to talk about cheerleading. So
yes, this is same, and I'm so excited to be here as well. This is so fun and exciting.
Okay, so let's get right into it. You're from New Jersey.
Correct. Yes, I'm from New Jersey. Originally from Scotch Plains, New Jersey, and basically the reason why, everyone asked me how I ended up in Hawaii, and honestly, it's because of cheerleading. And actually, I was recruited by the coach of UH to come out and cheer for the University of Hawaii. It was like after most people have already decided like where they were going, and like when I originally like applied, I got like a very small academic scholarship, and I was like, yeah, okay, I don't see this like happening, like no shot I'm going to be able to afford it. But then the day after like decision day, it was like May 2nd, I got an email from the university and he was like, hey, like you got this like pretty decent sized academic scholarship. And I was like, okay, mom was like, we can make this work. Like, how about you reach out to the coach? So then like I emailed the coach, like they already had tryouts and everything. Like I was like, oh, this is like a long shot, like no shot. But I emailed him and he like emailed me back right away. And he's like, hey, like, so I think I'm going to make a new trip to New Jersey on Monday. And I like kind of thought it was a joke because why would a coach from Hawaii like come all the way out to New Jersey? And he did. And he met me and he basically like offered me a spot on the team. And I was like, yep, this is where I'm going. My mom was like, yeah, you'd be crazy not to take this, like go, like what are you doing type of thing. So that's how I ended up here for the most part. And
that's crazy.
Yeah.
No, because cheerleading normally they don't like recruit like that.
Right.
They don't really recruit at all. Like you just kind of go to the school and then you try out for the team.
Right. Well, that's most people's experiences too. Like my roommate and like my best friend, she like was a diehard like Hawaii like lover. Like she went to all the clinics, she went to like the tryouts, and she like she wanted to come here. So that's how I guess she came to the program. And that's like I feel like a lot of people's experiences. Like they'll like go to the tryouts for the program, try out, and then make the team or don't make the team. But my experience was very different, but very interesting and awesome.
That's a lot easier than trying out. There's a lot of different programs. Were you looking at any other cheer programs?
Not necessarily any other program. I applied to 19 schools out of high school. Yeah, because I did not know exactly where I was going, if I was going to cheer in college, if I wasn't going to cheer in college, what like my plan was. Did I want to stay close to home? Did I want to go far away? So I was kind of just all over the place. I was committed to a school back in New Jersey at first, but then when this opportunity came out, I was like, yeah, I have to kind of take this. Like, it'd be crazy not to. And I'm so glad that I did. And like, it all worked out in that type of sense.
Yeah, because cheerleading is really big in the East Coast, and then also like Southern, like big football schools in Texas, Alabama.
For sure.
Florida has a lot of really good cheer programs. And then it's a little bit less big in, I feel like California. Their all-star teams are huge.
Their all-star teams are, which like is kind of odd because like we were saying, like their all-star teams are really big on like California type area. But I think college-wise, I guess most people go elsewhere or even just like stay. I feel like in
they tend to go to like those Texas schools.
Yeah, that's true. So. That's really true.
But then Hawaii is kind of like an oddball.
Yeah, because it's just like in the middle of the ocean, literally.
So at what age did you kind of start cheerleading?
I tried out for like my little like town team in kindergarten, like going into first grade.
Oh, like the rec team?
Yeah, like the rec team. And that was like so much fun. And my mom we just got like a flyer home from school one day. And I was like, do you want to try for cheerleading? I was like, yeah, sure. Like not knowing anything about cheerleading at all. So that's kind of how I started. And I've fallen in love with it ever since, like just with like tumbling and stunting and all of that. Like I did competitive cheer for the most part until high school and then college. But then also I did like all-star cheer for a little bit for a few years. And then before going to college, I was really focused on like high school cheer as well as just co-ed stunting in general in order to try to get ready for college. And then coming here, again, like cheer has been my whole life, just like being in Hawaii in general. And then so much so that I actually got my brother into cheerleading as well when he was going to college. Yeah, he's actually currently also on the UH cheer team.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I convinced him to become a cheerleader. Yeah, I mean, he was not free, but it's okay. Well, maybe another time.
What all-star team did you cheer for?
I cheered for CJA, and then I cheered a season or like half a season at World Cup.
CJA, Central Jersey,
Yeah.
All-Stars. Okay.
Yep.
They actually had that show.
Yeah, they
Did they
did.
have, what was it called?
They had cheer on CMT, and then they also had their Awesomeness TV show for 1 year. Yeah, they did. 1 year they didn't do Smoin, and they did
Okay.
CJ instead.
Do you remember when that Smoin show came out?
Yes.
That was the craziest thing to happen in All-Star Cheerleading, and that's kind of where we got cheerlebrities from.
Oh, yes.
You remember those?
For sure.
It's so cringy to look back at now. But like 2012, 2016, cheerlebrities like became like everything. And
yeah, especially if you were in that like world of cheerleading, like that was like so big for like no apparent reason. Like we were just like
no reason.
Yeah.
It was just so, it was like the Matt Smith era.
Oh
and
my
like
gosh.
Gabby Butler and like Maddie Gardner.
Yeah, those are some
all
throwback
of those
names.
crazy people. And like literally going to Worlds in were you at Worlds in 2012?
No,
So that
I was
was
too
my
young
first
then.
World Championship. And then you went,
I think I went 2014.
worst year of my life. That was the worst World Championship I ever went to. My team, I was on Super Seniors at the time. We completely bombed. Insert clip. But we were actually projected to like, we could have won that year. And
Right.
We did terrible. We actually didn't even make finals. That was the only time I went to Worlds and didn't make finals.
It's okay. I didn't make finals that year either. We were, if that was the correct year I'm thinking of, that was like my first like Worlds. Yeah. We didn't do too hot, but I mean, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, rewind for the viewers though.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about the cheerleading Worlds that is in ESPN Wide World of Sports in Disney World.
Yeah.
And every year, well, when we were cheerleading, before, things have changed a lot, and we'll talk about that. But there was 6 divisions, and then there was 2 international divisions, and right, small, medium, large, and then all girl co-ed.
I think so.
6
yeah.
divisions, and then 2 small, medium, large, international.
Yeah, I just remember going, just being so excited to go because I was so young, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so cool.
So
I'm at
that's
the cheerleading Worlds.
That's like the Olympics of our sport. That's the absolute last competition of the year. You have to get invited to go. You have to win a bid. That's like the last dance. So you go, you compete day 1, and then you have to make the top 10 to compete at day 2.
Yeah.
And then it's different because most cheerleading competitions you compete 2 days, and it's like 50-50, 75-30 of your score for each day. But Worlds is 100%.
Yeah,
So
and that's for all-star cheerleading for people.
Right, all-star cheerleading. Not in college yet. We're going to talk about college. But so if you're 10th, day 1, you kill it. Day 2, you could win because your score from the previous day doesn't matter. So you can start competing at Worlds at 12. We were both on junior level 5 teams.
Yeah, those 2.
So
times.
what age did you start competing on level 5?
I think I started at 11 because I started on a restricted team. The only 2 levels I've ever competed are 3 and 5.
So you were just so you already had tumbling when you were
I already had tumbling before I got into all-star cheerleading. My mom actually taught me how to tumble in our living room.
Wow.
Fun fact. Yeah. So she like taught me my back handspring like within a week because I was on the cheer team and I wanted to be able to do a back handspring. And then she taught me my standing tuck. She taught me my round of handspring. And then once we started getting like past that, then I like started to actually take like tumbling classes because she couldn't teach me like everything.
Yeah. So
But
did you take him like gymnastics tumbling or was it cheerleading?
no, it was really just like all cheerleading tumbling. I never really did gymnastics. I grew up as a dancer and a cheerleader like my entire life. Like those were like my 2 main sports. And even in high school, I went to performing arts high school so I danced every day. And then I would take the bus over to like my hometown high school where I would do cheerleading. And then I would do more dance too.
So you kind of belong on stage.
Yeah, kind of. I've always just loved performing in front of people no matter what. Even here at UH, like my major was dance.
Really?
And like we can talk about that too if you want. Yeah, but like my dance is my major, but I'm also on a pre-med track. And then I'm also on the cheerleading team. So I'm very like, I have a lot that I do.
That's a lot.
Yeah. But like they're all things that like I enjoyed. So I was never able to choose just one, even though at one point my mom was like, yeah, no, you should probably choose between cheer and dance. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, and I continued that through college.
Wait, so did you cheer and dance as well when you were an all-star?
Mm-hmm.
So
I've always been a cheerleader and dancer. Like,
so did you compete at the dance worlds as well?
No, I never did like that type of dance. It was more just like studio training. Like it wasn't really like the whole like, cause I feel like that's a little bit more, I I want to say like commercial, showy.
It's more performing.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Yeah. Type of thing.
Gotcha. So, would you say your dance background helps you in cheerleading?
I mean, yeah, I think they played off of one another throughout. Like I definitely learned some things from dance that I incorporated into cheer, and then some things from cheer that I incorporated dance, especially when it comes to like teachers and like learning how to like take corrections, or just like learning how to deal with different people, and then like working together. Like they're both have some similarities, but also a lot of differences. I feel like dance is more individual in the sense of like, yeah, you can do like group dances and stuff, but like when you're in class, it's mostly just like you trying to get better, rather than cheer. It's like you're always working with someone else no matter what, whether it's your stunt partner, or you're always cheering someone else on when they're tumbling, or you doing pyramids or baskets or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've definitely learned a lot from both, and I would not trade anything that I've done for the world.
Right. No, that's awesome. And then, so how did you, because this is something that I struggled with.
Mm-hmm.
How did you go from, because you said you did high school as well.
Yeah.
Was that the first time that you kind of did sideline? Was high school?
Yes. So I did like a few games, I want to say like in elementary school, and I was like really young on the sidelines, but like nothing like high school. And also my high school team wasn't, my high school football team wasn't good. I cheered 4 years and we didn't win a game.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't really have a lot of fans at our games. So it was kind of really difficult to get that like crowd interaction and that crowd involvement.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I came to UH when I realized like how much an impact the cheerleaders can really have on the games, and how much like if you're really making noise and you're trying to get the crowd involved, like they can actually impact what happens in the game, which is something I honestly didn't know cheerleaders could do before coming here, because I came from like a town that wasn't really like a big sports town. And so we didn't have that ability or chance to make that impact on like the games with the crowd. So I didn't necessarily, I feel like, struggle too much with making that transition. I mean, yeah, it was different for sure, but it was kind of just something that I feel like I just like jumped into, and I was like, okay, like how can I do this to the best of my ability type of thing.
Yeah. So again, for the viewers, if the difference between all-star and sideline is you're on the sidelines cheering for a football, basketball team. You're doing a bunch of different cheers, choreographed, you're shouting, trying to get the crowd involved. And then all-star, you basically work on one routine.
Yeah,
the whole year.
The one routine the entire year. You're not really cheering for anyone.
Mm-hmm. And then you compete it at different competitions throughout the year.
Yeah.
That ultimately lead up to the World Championship.
And then for college, it's different because when you get to college, you compete once a year, and that's like your big competition. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like you put so much time into your school and like the events that you're going on in your school and the games and whatnot. So there's a lot more, I think, pride in being a college cheerleader that you don't get when you're cheering for, well, maybe you get it for your high school. I didn't necessarily, because it was different, but much more pride you get for your school and like what you're doing and who you're representing, and like especially going to the games and making like the connections with like the fans and stuff is just so different. And then at the same time that you're going to all these games and making the connections, you're trying to improve on your own skills for when you compete.
So that's the part of college that's interesting, is that while you're practicing your sideline, because you guys do like there's things you guys do for timeouts, and like sometimes there's like halftime stuff, so you're working on all of that, but also in the background you're working on your routine all year for nationals.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for some schools, I think for us, we like to try to do whatever we do on the nationals mat in front of our crowd or in front of our fans, because in like the grand scheme of things, or like in the bigger picture, like those fans are the ones that like support us, and like they're the ones that like come out to the games and cheer on the other Hawaii teams. And at the end of the day, like we'll go to UCA, we'll compete, and we'll try our best, but it's not like all of our fans are going to be there and like give us that love and support.
Right.
So we like to try to not just like prepare for nationals, but we like to prepare like outside of like the games and whatnot, but we like to also try to incorporate what we're going to do for our nationals routine during our timeouts for games. So not are we performing for like the big stage for like UCA, Hawaii goes to UCA, but we are performing the same skills for the people of Hawaii and the people who like come to the games and actually get a chance to like see us and stuff.
And then did you have any trouble transitioning from tumbling on spring floor to tumbling on dead mat?
it's different in the way like you have to position your body and in the way that you have to hit like the different angles of the mat and the floor. But it's also different because not all the skills that you can do in all-star cheer where you're on like a spring floor, you can do in college. Like you can't do double fulls. So that's something. So I didn't necessarily, it was definitely just like learning how to hit those different angles, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is a whole new form of tumbling that I have to learn type of thing.
For me, tumbling on dead mat was much harder because I had a lot of ankle injuries.
Oh.
And then so I would go to like my high school and they would see all the tumbling that I would do in All-Stars and they would expect me to throw the same skills. And I'm like, girl, I was like, I'm not doing that. Like she wants me to connect like round off hand whip through whatever. And I'm like, I'm not connecting skills like that on a dead mat. I mean, you can, it's legal, but like, my little ankles were not having it. But the boys, you see them like doing like all the combinations, they go crazy.
Yeah, there's some guys that are really
on
crazy.
dead mat, and I'm just like, my knees could never.
So fun fact about us, we actually don't call it dead mat because we're like, okay, it's not actually dead. We just call it cheer mat. So we'll call like our spring floor because we actually do have access to like.
You have a spring floor?
In Studio 4 on lower campus.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a spring floor in there.
Is it a spring floor or like a foam mat?
No, like a spring floor.
Spring?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
it's really nice. So we can use that to like practice skills or like if we're not quite ready to do it on the cheer mat, like we'll use that to like build up to the cheer mat skills, which is really nice because I will like practice like bounding or like whipping in there and before I like go to the cheer mat and do it. So we have both, but they're both different, but it's also just like how you work with it type of thing.
And there's a lot of people that have trouble like transitioning back to spring floor too, because then you overdo it on a spring floor.
Yeah, that's so kind of
because that's how like that's why when I was working on skills, I never did rod mat.
Oh really?
I never I would go from like trampoline and then I would just go straight to the floor. I would never go to the rod.
I loved the rod floor.
I would do rod and then I would like underdo it.
I see. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
It's way too bad.
I just thought it was so cool, like how there was like an in between because I just felt like I was like invincible on that floor.
The rod floor, oh gosh, you go so high. I could literally do anything on a rod floor. You could do like combinations. Yeah. And that's actually how I got hurt. Because I love doing like punch front through to skills and I would hyperextend my leg.
Would make sense.
I did it twice because I got too much power on the rod floor.
Right.
So when I would go on the spring floor, I would underdo it. So then I would try to like be more powerful, and then it would be too much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I could never gauge it.
Like feel it out correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no, that makes sense.
That was the end of front tumbling for me. But you'd mentioned like the different kinds of skills that you can do in All-Star versus college. Talk a little bit about that. Like a lot of people don't know. Like in All-Star, you can do double fulls, you can do double downs, you can do certain connecting tumbling skills, but there's a lot of restrictions on college.
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes both ways, especially just talking about like the tumbling aspect. I think the only thing that you can really do in All-Star that you can't necessarily do in college is like double fulls or twisting twice. But in college, you can do everything to like fulls, and then you can even bound out of fulls. Like you can go like full.
Oh, you can connect twisting
you can
skills?
connect twisting.
Okay. You can't do that in All-Star.
You can't do that in All-Star except for international teams now. I don't know. I think we should preface with we're not really in the All-Star cheer world anymore, so I don't know what the world ranges are. But in college, you can definitely connect two twisting skills together. Just fulls though.
Yeah,
like, and then you can bound. But then for stunting wise, like for college, you can do, there's a lot more co-ed stunting, I would say, especially in the co-ed division.
I feel like there's not a whole lot of restrictions on stunting in college because you can do inverted baskets, you can do I'm sorry, I forget the terminology when you like the stacked pyramids.
Oh, like the 1-1-1s or the 2-2-1s.
Exactly.
Yeah, or the A-frames. Yeah.
So you can't do any of that in All-Star.
Yeah, there's definitely those. It's just different because there's also like, of course, there's always like safety restrictions for each of them. So you just have to be like aware of that when you're like doing it. But it's just like, it's just different. Like I feel like, yeah, like you can compare them, but like they're both like titled under cheerleading, but I feel like they're such different sports.
They are different sports.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. And that's the thing with cheerleading too, is that every single skill has a safety requirements attached to it. So when you're doing inversions, you have to make sure that you have a brace for certain inversions, like at a certain point. If you let go early, it's a deduction. You have to make sure you have a certain amount of like, if I don't know, like I know All-Star better because I never cheered college.
Right.
But
yeah.
Like, for All-Star, like you have to have a certain amount of people like under the stunt if you're doing like a certain skill, and you have to have a certain amount of catchers, braces, spots. that.
No,
kind of
for
thing.
sure. That's definitely for All-Star. And then for college, I don't know how it is at other programs. Like, obviously, I've never been to another program
Right.
besides Hawaii. But something that's, I guess, good, or definitely, I would say, I hope other programs do this, is we actually go over the rules as a team. Like, we'll go through like the new safety guidelines, or just like we'll look over each of the rules. Like this year, I think we like split up into groups, and then each group had to like present like, this is the safety requirements on baskets, or these are the safety requirements for stunts. So we like took the time out of one of our practices like at the beginning of the year just to like make sure everyone knew like what we could do, say on basketball court, or what you can do on the turf, or what you need a spot for, and things like that. So we kind of, a big thing that especially here is all about safety, because if you're not safe in cheer, like I feel like there's a lot of like injuries that can happen very easily. But luckily for us here, we put a lot of emphasis on safety, and just like making sure that, one, we know all the safety regulations and rules, and then two, if we are trying a new skill, we'll add extra spotters. We'll make sure that we go through the progressions very nicely, and like make sure like we perfect each progression before moving on, which is something that like I absolutely love, because it's just not just good technique, but also just keeps you safer in the long run too.
Yeah, because concussions are really big in cheerleading. A lot of people don't know that either. Like, we get hit in the head a lot, especially like if you're a flyer and you're falling from, you know, a stacked up stunt.
Right. Yeah, that can happen, definitely. I mean, that's never happened to me. But.
Yeah. And the problem with that is you go from, like, say you do fall and hit your head, and then you start tumbling and your head is like all over the place, and that's how it gets like dangerous. So that's good that you guys go through safety progressions.
Yeah,
honestly,
we go through a lot. Yeah.
A lot of programs, they just kind of, the coaches just kind of know the safety regulations, and then they just choreograph it that way. So does the safety rules, do they change? Like, does the score sheet in college change?
I don't know too much about the score sheet in college, but I know that safety regulations, there might be like alterations or changes like year after year. So it's important to like go back and like look at them, and also just like making sure that everyone's aware with it. And especially because we do cheer for all the different sports like volleyball, basketball, football, there's different safety things that we have to follow for football, because that's on like the track or the turf rather than for volleyball or basketball, which is on a court. So obviously you can only do some things on the turf that you can't do it on the court, type of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite sport to cheer for?
Oh my goodness. When people ask me this question, I end up just saying all the sports, because I'll be like, my first one is always like, oh, I love cheering for football, because even though the games are super long, I love being out there for like that amount of time. And I also really enjoy the sport of football and just like watching it. And I enjoy like those long days, even though they are really long. But then at the same time, I'm like, oh, I love volleyball because it's so interesting, or like fast, like watching the ball hits you over the net. But then I'm like, okay, but I also love basketball, because there's just like little things that like of each sport that I love cheering for. And maybe it's just because both of my brothers played football. So like when I get to cheer football, I'm like, I know the most about it.
Right.
But honestly, there's great things about cheering for every single sport. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, Hawaii has a really cool the run out for the football.
Oh yes, we get to go on the surfboard for the run out. That's like probably one of my favorite memories.
You get to, have you been the one on
Yes,
top?
I've been on the surfboard twice alone, and then one time I got to ride it with my best friend. She was like standing and I was like sitting. So we got to do that when we traveled for the UNLV game a few years ago. I think that was like my third year. So that was like such a good experience, and it's so cool, but also so nerve-wracking, because you're just like, okay, it's just me on the surfboard, and everyone like will get so many like good feedback about that, like the run out, and
It's
you're like,
iconic.
I don't want to mess this up. Like, I gotta do good. I gotta be smiling. Like, so it's like really stressful at the same time, but so much fun. And like, it wasn't until this year where I felt like I truly enjoyed the experience, because I was like, yeah, this is like my last time on it, which was like kind of sad. But, and then also like my brother got to run underneath me, and I was like, this is kind of sick too. Like, when am I ever going to have this experience again? So it's been really neat to have that.
That's fun. Has anyone ever fallen off of the surfboard?
I
I always wonder that. I'm like, how do they stay?
Not that I can recall necessarily, which is pretty impressive,
That's
honestly.
really impressive.
Yeah.
When I watch it, I'm like, there's no.
I mean, we always have a guy like running next to us or to catch us at the end. So I think like in theory, like he could always like grab if he needed to.
And do you guys practice it?
Not as much as you would think. Like, I didn't practice it at all my first year. I think I practiced it. The first time I practiced it was this year, which is kind of crazy because it's like my last year. But it was like we just had my first year, like that was pre-COVID. All of the guys on the team had done it so many times, and that's when we were still at Aloha Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And all the guys had done it so many times, so I don't think like we felt the need to practice. But then like between like COVID and then the following year where we didn't cheer at all the football games, like then I think my coach was like, yeah, I think we need to go back and practice this, because we had a lot of like new people on the team who had never done it before.
Right.
So we kind of did it like that. We'll practice it like day of game, but besides that, the guys might practice it, but the girls don't usually practice until like day of.
Okay.
If anything. But
that's interesting, because I thought for sure that was something that like you guys practice all the time.
No, actually, not really. I swear, I just tell all the girls like when when they're practicing, or they're like the chosen ones for that game. I'm like, just keep a tight core, keep a good smile, and like sit like hold the weight like down on the lower half of your body, and you'll be fine. Like you'll be chilling.
That's the key to like any cheerleading skills.
No, literally tight core at all times, no matter what.
No, for sure. And then like so you squeeze your butt cheeks like a penny's in. That's how you.
I've never heard that one. That one's funny.
Because like when you're coding, you have to like keep your like hips forward, but your shoulders back. They like squeeze your butt like.
That's funny. That's really funny. I think from dance, I've always learned how to just like hold my body weight like on top of myself and like keep a tight core and like lift up. So I think that's helped me so much.
Or
like just trying to fly. Yes, I give that correction too. I'm like, think that there's a string pulling you up, but then also something pushing you down at the same time. So the feeling of opposition with a tight stomach.
Exactly. So I want to talk about kind of like the other side of cheerleading, because there's a lot of like, everyone thinks of cheerleaders as like super smiley and like happy and like it's like this glamorous like thing that we all, you know, do, and we're like, it's all the pretty girls and like the guys and like the glitz and the glamour. But there's a lot about cheerleading that people don't necessarily get to see until it's all over the news.
Right.
So we've all seen Cheer on Netflix. And we've seen what happened with Jerry on Cheer. That is super common in cheerleading, but a lot of the time, since the sport itself doesn't get the coverage that show got, people don't really talk about it. So in my experience, my coach of when I was a kid, I was like, I would say like 4 to like 10 or 11.
Oh wow.
It was when I was on J5. He ended up going to jail and he got 80 years. So I was just wanted to, like, do you have any like perspective on the other side of things?
I mean, it's definitely like, it's really hard to like watch and like see, especially because a lot of kids, like I know for me, like cheer was always like my safe space, and where it was like, I always felt the happiest and I could just like be myself type of thing. And I would leave like everything outside, like at the door, like, and I would come and be like, okay, it's time for me to practice. So I've never had like, thank God, and I'm very grateful for this, but never had like experiences like that growing up in the cheerleading world. But I, obviously, like you've been around it and you hear all about it on the news, and you have like friends who've been a part of other programs and they'll speak up about things like that, and you're just like, oh my goodness, like I did not realize how common this was. And for me, like I'm very grateful that I've had, for the most part, positive experiences within cheer and within cheerleading. Especially coming into like college and stuff, but it's definitely hard to see someone who's like, this sport was probably like their safe space or this happy space kind of be like ruined for them in that like type of manner. And obviously like I can't speak about like other sports or like other activities and stuff, but I think it's also hard because we're not technically, in some instances, we're not considered fully a sport. Here we are under athletics, which I will forever be grateful for everything that UH does for us, because it has helped tremendously in all aspects of it. But I do know that other programs aren't as fortunate. And so they won't have the same rules or regulations, or they won't have to go through the same trainings, which makes it really difficult for things like that. Or not difficult, but it makes things easier with that to like come about.
And we kind of talked about it before the cameras were on too, the age difference for competing athletes for cheerleading. You know, your world's eligible at 12, and then you age out normally around 18, unless you continue on an international team, in which there's no age limit. So I think that's kind of where the like breeding grounds for those kinds of things happen, because it's, you know, very, very young kids traveling in you know, we all room together, we travel together, we practice together. And I think it's easy to forget that a lot of the kids on our team are as old as you think they are.
Right. And that's really challenging in general. Because there is such a big difference, like you were saying, between ages between like 12 and 18. And you're such a different person when you're in middle school and then when you're a senior in high school. Like, that's such a big difference, especially, I think they might have changed it now, not going to lie. Now that we're like thinking about it, I'm wondering, I think they did change the senior age to 13 or 14. I could also be completely wrong on that too, but which makes it a little bit better, but it's still significantly.
I think that it's 14 for international.
Okay. Oh, maybe it's that. Yeah.
For senior level teams, I think it's still 12.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. But like, yeah, it makes it, having that big age difference is really challenging because those groups of kids are just in such different parts of their lives.
The other darker side of cheerleading too is like the body imaging that we go through. Because like you said, you started competing when you were 10, younger.
Yeah. I started like, actually, like, I think I started All-Star at like 10, I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started when I was 3 on like Pee Wee level teams.
Right.
And then I started competing J5 when I was like 9 or 10.
Oh, wow.
I remember thinking I was fat at the age of like, you know, 10, 11 before I'd even like hit puberty. Because, you know, we wear, well, at least when I started cheerleading, we wore the 2-piece uniforms and the heavy makeup and the big hair and like all the things. And you would see the girls like, and that was when like cheer athletics was like, they were known for like their abs.
Yeah, I remember that. And they had like their like ab workout on like going through the internet
and
on
the
like
cheer,
Sport.
the world's diet.
Oh my goodness. Big. Yeah, which I think came out as like all fake at the end of it.
Yeah.
But
that was like the big thing. And I was like, I don't have ripped abs. Like
no,
that.
because we were young. Like I was like
baby fat still.
It was just like you were just so young at that age, but you like see all these like other girls that were probably at the time like 16 or 17 and like you wanted to be like them because like they were so well known. So you would like have these like crazy thoughts in your head that just like weren't true because you were still like so tiny at that age.
And a big thing, I don't know if you went through this because you're still very petite, but when you were like a flyer before puberty, right? And then you would hit puberty and you would get grounded and you'd have to learn how to base. So I went through that. I went through it later because I was still pretty small.
Right.
But that's a huge, like basically your coach says you're too big to fly.
Yeah.
Nobody's picking you up anymore.
Yeah. I've had that. I guess, well, and like when going into like high school, I wasn't straight up told that I was going to be based or like be grounded that following year, but it was more kind of just like, yeah, well, like kind of start learning how to base, like blah, blah, blah. Like they were hinting at the fact that you would be grounded the next year. I didn't end up cheering the following year going into high school because mainly because my mom told me that I should focus more on school, which I'm very grateful that she like made me do that looking back at it now. But you know, when cheers your whole life, you're like, no, like I have to do cheerleading. Like it needs to be that.
Yeah.
But so I never had to experience that dramatic, I think, of a change, but I did base like before coming here, like my last year on an all-star team, I was base. And I based like in pyramid and stuff. Yeah. Which is crazy.
And that's, so when we were talking about the age difference, a lot of the time, like the younger kids do come in at the age of like 12 and stuff like that, and they're very small. So
yeah, because they haven't hit puberty yet.
So you've got babies flying.
Right. And then you're just like, shoot, like I wish I could be a flyer.
Well, even though you're still very small, like you are, if you have a 12-year-old coming in and she's 5 pounds and they're going to toss her up.
Like, I'm not even 5'2", but people still were like, you're kind of big to fly. I was like, okay.
It messes with your head because you're like, wait, I'm 110 pounds. I'm 5'2". What do you mean I'm too big?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, that's a lot of people come with like the like body dysmorphias and like the eating disorders. And I had a couple girls on my team that, you know, ended up with eating disorders and stuff like that because they were considered fat. And I've had this conversation with my mom before too. You kind of have to like check yourself because when people graduate or like the older kids, like they don't cheer anymore. And the standard for cheerleading is much different than it is just for like a regular human. So, you know, you like look on Instagram and you're like, oh my gosh, this girl that graduated 2 years ago, like she's gotten so fat. But then you're like, no, she's just turned into a regular human being. Yeah. You know? So
I know,
It's the standard is so much different and you kind of have to like deprogram yourself to realize like, the way that we train and like the way that cheerleaders look, like that's not normal.
It's not
attainable. It's not. And then you know, I went through it too. Like when you stopped cheerleading and I started turning into a regular human being, like I gained like 10 pounds, lost all my muscle mass, and I'm just like had to remember like this is just normal. This is what normal bodies look like. It's not normal to be 12 and ripped. It's not normal to like have muscles like that. It's not, you know.
And it's even like talking about like the muscle thing, like you can only be so small but so strong at the same time. So it's like finding that like balance, especially when you're looking at like other cheerleaders and stuff, which I like. I'm also I'm just like reflecting on all like the past, and it's really hard to train your mindset that it's more important to be healthy than anything else, especially when it's coming down to like those types of thoughts in your head or conversations that you may be having with others.
Yeah, and the boys go through it too, you know. With their muscle mass and like.
Yes, I mean, my brother just wants to be bigger all the time, so he gets like upset if he's like not at his like. It's like, oh, I wish I could just be bigger. Like I just need to eat more. I'm like, that's so different, like compared to like the girls' point of view too.
Yeah, because even like in regular sports, like boys don't start weight training until after puberty normally, but in cheerleading they have them weight training, you know.
Yeah, I was using ankle weights, I think, like 5th grade.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that, like, having to do, like, kicking the heel stretches with ankle weights. Yes.
I remember I was stretching, because, you know, your back spot normally stretches out your flyer.
Yes.
My back spot was stretching me out, and I literally, like, pulled a muscle, because she literally, like, pulled my leg, like, way too much.
Oh, my gosh.
It was terrible, because you're supposed to be, like, all bendy and, like, a little pretzel.
I worked so hard for that. I remember, like, I would wake up every morning at, like, 5:30 a.m. like stretch before school, like because I was like, okay, like this is just what I have to do.
Yeah, everybody wanted the Gabby Butler needle.
Oh my god, yes, I remember that.
Her little stretching videos on like YouTube and stuff like that.
She just reposted those the other day, and I was like, wait, what?
It's like trauma.
Oh my god, throwback.
Watching the cartoons in a split, I remember doing it all the time.
Literally, yes.
Or standing on a can of soup.
I did that like once, and I was like, yeah, I'm never doing this again. Like, I was like, it's okay. I don't need to do this one.
Remember those like stunt pads that they had?
Not the stunt stands that they have now. Or are you talking about those that they have now? Yes. Oh my goodness.
The crazy things that we did to try to
improve in every aspect of cheerleading.
The balance bracelets.
Okay, no.
They never worked.
Did you guys like actually try to use those?
Yeah. We, like, our flyers tried to, like, there are these bracelets in it.
Yes, no, I remember those, like, becoming a thing and being, like, but they were, like, $5.
Yeah. And then they banned them.
Because, like, they didn't do anything.
And, like, I used to spray the bottom of my flyer shoes with hairspray to make her shoe more grippy.
I remember, okay, this is weird, but, like, my back spot didn't like when I shaved before because he was like, you're going to be too slippery.
Oh, I used to get so mad when my flyer would put lotion on.
Oh, my God.
Because they're slippery.
That's so funny.
No, it's a thing. It's a real thing. And then the other thing that I want to talk about was on a college standpoint, like the hazing that goes on in college cheer programs. Yeah.
I mean, you see, I feel like the big ones get on the news and like you hear about them. Definitely, I think there were some, I don't know, big name programs we were talking about before. Again, luckily for me, like, thank God, like the universe really truly blessed me with coming here in this program because we have none of that. I want to say, like, it's very, because you'll like read the articles or like you'll see other things, or I'll even talk to like friends on other teams. I'm like, yeah, we don't have to go through any of that. Like, that's crazy. Like, actually insane.
Well, even like an all-star super seniors. So it's not hazing by any means. It's nothing crazy. But like our last day of camp, the seniors get to like draw on our face with like lipstick and like do our hair all crazy. And then we have to practice like that. And it's funny. Like we take pictures at the end and no one like gets hurt or anything like that. But then after that, we're allowed to learn how to do the double S.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you're not allowed to do it until after last day of camp.
Wow.
But yeah, there's huge college programs that I won't name the names, but there was a college program a couple of years ago that they fired the entire coaching staff.
I remember that coming out.
They were doing like
it was like during COVID too.
It was like severe hazing and like starving them, making them run until like they passed out, like crazy things. And I don't know why that's so prominent in our sport. I don't know why we feel like we need to earn like our uniform or earn like, those kinds of things. But I think that it's like changing a lot now.
I agree with that too.
I think that it's more like notable, and like I think people have seen the consequences of those things, and I think cheerleading's getting back to what it was started for.
Yeah.
Which is to be, kind of like that American like sweetheart, image.
In a sense, yeah. Again, like I think it's so different too with like the different groups of cheerleading, whether it's like for high school or for college or all-star. Like I feel like those are such different sports in such a way. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like hard to, and I hope that it continues on a more like positive track, definitely.
Right.
Just like more like supporting for the school, and rather than just for, I don't know, like not doing anything like dumb or silly.
Yeah, because we're trying to like come out of that like stereotypical like dumb pretty girl.
Always, yeah.
You're always fighting those stereotypes.
Yeah, for sure.
Trying to get the respect as like an athlete, because the things that cheerleaders do are much different than any other sport.
Yeah.
It comes with like lifestyle and like the skills that we learn. Like you can't just learn overnight. They take years.
Yeah, they definitely take years to learn. And so like you have the whole athletic side of cheerleading, but I think it's also really important to talk about like, unlike other sports, we have such a like more of performance side of things as well. And especially in college, like you learn how to like communicate with other people. You learn how to communicate with fans. You learn how to like keep that smile on your face and perform in front of the crowd for as long as the game is. Like a football game can be like 4 hours and you have to be out there like on stage basically. Like yes, you're on the sidelines, or yes, you're in front of the crowd, but everyone's going to be watching. Someone's going to be watching you at all times. So you learn to be, I almost want to say like almost more than an athlete, because you just don't have to do the skills and perform the skills, but you have to do all these like other things on top of it too.
Right.
Support for Hawaii Players Pod comes from Hawaii Pacific Health. For strains, sprains, sports injuries, and muscle and joint pains, visit the Orthopedic Urgent Care team at Straub Medical Center, Kahala Clinic and Urgent Care. No appointment is necessary. Learn more at straubhealth.org/Kahala.
So I want to talk about you.
Okay.
A little bit. Dialing it back. But you want to be a doctor.
Yes. That's the end goal, is to go to medical school and become a doctor. Hopefully still here in Hawaii, but we'll see. Currently, I'm accepted to a school in Arizona. So no matter what, I'll be going to medical school next year. But my main goal and my main hope is to stay here and go to JABSOM. But I'm currently waitlisted, but we'll see. That's like my main goal, and to hopefully just give back to the people of Hawaii. I've already like given back to me so much. Like I came from New Jersey where I was cold all the time and I was miserable. Like love my mom, love my family, but I hated being cold. And just like coming out here and like talking to like the people here, like I've never felt more welcome in an area before. And I would love to just be able to like stay here and give back to the community in any way that I possibly could.
Do you still want to be a part of the cheer program?
I mean, in an ideal world, I would love to be part of Hawaii. I would love to be part of athletics. I would love to be part of the cheer program and fulfill my dreams as a doctor and go to med school. But we'll just have to see, like, I think where everything lines up. If I'll always be here for the team no matter what. Like, I've already told like the freshmen this, because they're like, what are we going to do without you next year? I was like, you guys will be fine, first of all. Second of all, I'm literally a call or text away. Like, I will answer any question that you possibly have, like, no matter what. And I'll see, obviously, if I can stay around. If I'm still on island, of course, I'll still be a part of it in some way, shape, or form, especially because I have a sibling on the team, too. So I'll be part of it no matter what, but in just what capacity, we'll have to see.
Right. And what kind of doctor do you want to be?
Oh, so I've always had this idea that I've wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon, because I've had surgery on my knee, and like the surgeon that I had was like amazing. And like, I say this to everyone, like I want his job, like, cause I get to see him at like all the sporting events and like the games and stuff. And I'm like, I want that. Like, I want to be so part of athletics. So part of me would like love to still be able to work with athletes and be able to like work with UH and have that job. But at the same time, like obviously I'm not in school yet, so I can't say like that's for sure what I want to do. So I like to keep my options open. And then I'm always down for like the wherever I can be like the most beneficial or help out the most is like what I want to do or like where I want to go. So don't have an idea or like a dream or whatever you want to call it in mind, But at this end of the day, I'm like, if I can become a doctor and help someone out, that's what I want to do.
That's awesome. You're going to be a great doctor.
Thank you.
I can tell already.
Appreciate it.
Is there anything else that you wanted to say while we're on the air?
Oh my goodness. This went by so fast.
Any shout outs? Any NIL?
NI shout outs?
Shameless plugs?
Not shameless plugs. I literally have nothing. Yeah, I got nothing. I don't know, go Bows. That's literally my saying for everything. You can do, honestly, whatever you want as a D1 athlete. I think that's another misconception is a lot of people are like, I can't do pre-med and be a D1 athlete. I'm like, yeah, it was hard and I had to like make sacrifices, but like at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. Like I'm a dance major who's also in medical school, but also on the cheerleading team. Like you can do whatever you want. I think it's hard for people to like understand that, like even with our crazy schedules, it's challenging, but like it's all possible. And like I wouldn't change my path right now for anything in the world. So I'm very blessed to be where I am.
Well, we wish you good luck in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.